Well, it was suggested that we do a part two to talk about beauty standards. And when I tell you, I'm really am trying to get this done in 30 minutes, I'm fooling myself. But you know what? Let's get into it. It's Friday. It's Friday, 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, 5 o'clock Eastern, and so on and so on. Welcome to Girl. Listen, I am Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack, and I am going to try to tackle a topic that I already know I won't have enough time. I already know it, but why not go ahead and do what we can do, right? Like, I like to live that kind of life. So first of all, before we get into our topic of today, because I want to grab as much time as I can, we are streaming this live to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So if you want to, go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching us from, what city, what state, what country. Even if you're watching the replay, by all means, go ahead and put that in. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to GR Houston Jack, because we love the support. Like, come on, we love the support. So I've been working on this outline for a few days now and really trying to figure out how to take something so big as beauty standards and morph it into a small bite, which is, I'm going to call it a little difficult, because I immediately went to a place of, are we looking at cultural beauty standards? Are we looking at like different ethnicities? I mean, it went all over the place. Men, women, it went all over the place. And so I thought, well, let me hit some highlights and then we'll work it down, right? So first up, shout out to the family showing up, Black Eighth Element. Hello, thank you for tuning in. And I have to give a shout out to my mama because she shows up for me. She's rocking it down there in Houston. Thank you, ma'am, for showing up. Appreciate it. She's gotten very active on the YouTubes because as you get older, you add an S to everything. Okay, let me not go there because that's awful. But let me start with something. The very first thing is defining what is beautiful. Now, I will tell you right here, right now, when I go live, when I record videos, this is it. It is rare, honestly. Go back and check the footage for Gwendolyn to even put on like makeup. I may do a lip balm, Beekman 1802, and a little lip liner, but this is what it is. Every blue moon, I'll throw on something, a little eyeshadow, a little whatever, but I don't do this extra just to get out and get in front of a camera. Now, if you were to do a survey and ask how many people felt as if they needed to have some sort of covering, and that could be men or women, okay? So make sure I'm clear there. You're going to have a lot of people who may say, well, I don't want to go live because I don't have any makeup on and my face is like this. The face will be facing sometimes, right? Because we're kind of going through that little phase of life. So it just is what it is. So for each of us, we have to now decide, how do we define what's beautiful? In my head, when I decided to cut off my hair, it was clear that my definition of what is beautiful and gorgeous and gaudy would not match what society says is beautiful. And I was okay with that, which is why I cut it, right? I was perfectly okay with that. Speaking of which, if you want to share, how do you define beautiful? And for extra credit, if you want to go there, do you see yourself as being beautiful or handsome? I don't want to get into attractive because that's a whole nother chapter. But how do you define what's beautiful? Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That part is true. That part is true. So when I started digging into this topic, oh man, here's a couple of things I did find out in my research. And there have been a number of organizations that are researching this topic, not just today. It's been going on for a very long time, probably as long as I've been alive, right? More than likely, if I really, really dug into it. But a number of persons have shared that the beauty standards that we have are unrealistic and they are toxic. They're not good for our mental health. They're surely not good for our physical health. It's creating chaos. And if I have to just look out without doing any kind of survey, like an authentic study, I'm going to tell you, I feel as if this shift of who is getting impacted gets younger and younger every year, if not every decade, right? Because when you think about it, people had this idea that it's just the older people, right? Like you're in your 30s or your 20s or your 40s or your 50s, and you're now thinking about what to do with the face and the body, and everything is hanging where it wants to hang and it's doing its own. But we see it now, 20s, we see it in the teens, we see it with the kids. It is being passed on to them. Some of it is very conscious, some of it is subconscious, but it's getting younger and younger. And for me, I think to myself, how do we cut this out? Like, how do we rewrite the story? Because something's got to give. Something has to give. We can't keep going down this path. Well, take it back. We can. What the results will be, well, that's the scary part, right? So before we go on, because I want to get right into it, like I said, I want to cram as much as I can at this time. We do have Victoria chiming in. Victoria's out there in Grapevine. What's going on? And yes, I guess my brother sees himself as being handsome. And if I must say so myself, we are a handsome group of people in the Houston household. Okay, enough of the bragging. So the Bulimia Project, if you've never heard of them, they are an organization that is focused on providing educational information, research, and resources about bulimia nervosa. And they're also looking at the physical and mental health capacities, or I should say complications, that go along with that particular eating disorder. So look them up, the Bulimia Project. But they did this project where they asked AI to create the perfect man and woman. Now, they used DALL-E 2, Stable Diffusion, and Midjourney. And I will tell you that this article, it came out in May, just this past May. Midjourney was noted to be one of the worst when it came to creating the perfect man in terms of being so unrealistic. Now, they did 2 tests. The first test was to create the perfect man or woman based on social media's idea of what's beautiful. So based on those beauty standards. What they ended up with was, in terms of the men, a lot of big, overly chiseled bodybuilders with super petite waists, right? So unrealistic. And then with the women, they were petite in stature, really big busts, super skinny waist. That's from social media's perspective. Now, keep in mind on social media, people are out there using 5,000 filters. We're doing all kinds of morphing tools to create an image of who we are, right? So you ask a computer to spit back to you what it has now believed is attractive. That's what you're going to get. This really unrealistic idea of what the perfect man and woman should be. And I will say this too, they're all Caucasian, right? Now, they decided to span this test a little wider. They decided, well, let's ask for the internet, right? So look at the entire internet and give me an image of what is like really attractive in terms of beauty standards. Now that one gave it a wider range of ethnicities and races and heights and hair, but it was still unrealistic. You had this disproportionate body thing going on, right? Super skinny waist, really big bust and chest. But these are the images that a computer sees. Now, take that and think about what your eye sees every day. What do you see every day in social media, in movies, TV shows, commercials, magazines, video? Think of those visuals. If a computer can spit this out for us, then we got to recognize there's a problem somewhere. So with this one, again, like I said, resulting images were still extremely odd and unrealistic. But they also mentioned this: no one can reasonably achieve the physical standards set by social media. So why are we working so hard to do it? Surely, okay, well, let me take it back. If you're of a younger age, I don't know, 10, 12, no, 12, you should probably know. If you're like 10 and below, you may not understand that what you're seeing is really not real, right? You're still that age of wonder and surprisement, like, oh my God, I can't believe, is that real? It's like, okay, yeah. Somewhere around 12, you know. And I have to keep in mind that I'm coming from an older place. So my 12 and today's 12 are not the same thing. So you might even have some thought, maybe at 8, of what's real, what's not real. It's a very good chance. But you're getting these images and you're seeing these images on a consistent basis. So how are you as a child supposed to say, I will never meet this? I will never meet it. Now we make a simple assumption that it's about age. That with age, we become wiser. With age, we're going to know better. And yet, and still, that's not true. I have to wonder if it gets worse as you get older, because now, whereas we had peer pressure in a smaller circle, now you're an adult. You're out in the world, you're doing your thing, but you're getting into these more intimate circles. And some of us still want to fit in. Now, I've been the odd duck a very long time in my life, but I'm also a learner. So I'm okay on being on the sidelines, right? That's okay with me to not do the whole thing. But there are others who want to be accepted and included in what for them may be perceived to be a prestigious inner circle. And you don't look like them. So what do? Do you go under the knife? Or do you decide to stand by yourself and do your own thing? Before I get into this next slide, I was watching The Cube. The Cube? It's like on TNT. And it was Gabrielle Union and Lala Anthony. And they had them side by side. Now, these are beautiful women, hands down beautiful. But I got to tell you, I cringed a little bit, just a little, because I'm looking at Gabrielle next to Lala, and I can see some differences. Full disclosure, it is not my spot or anybody else's spot to even attempt to judge what someone does with their body. That is not the message. Let me make that clear. My curious mind goes to a place of why we do what we do. It's a digging deeper thing. But Lala, in my opinion, has always been a beautiful woman. But I couldn't help but think that maybe there could have been a little bit of work there. Could have been just a little bit of work. Just a little bit. And then I immediately went back to, well, Gwendolyn, who are you to judge this woman? And it's a hard place, right? Because I'm not judging her. But then I'm also looking at her questioning, like, she's beautiful. Even before, if she had any work done, even before, she's gorgeous. Why would she ever think she needed anything to be done, right? Anything. So, looking at some of our comments, as Black Eighth Element says, typical yes, because you live and learn, and some not so much. And it's true. Some of us, we never shake that peer pressure thing, right? So I'm going to go right to one of the peer pressure things that is recent in the news. I want to say it's maybe 7 days old. And it's those mommy makeovers. And this beautiful young lady, I want to say she was 32, mother of 3. Let me check my information here. Recently passed away from a mommy makeover that went terribly wrong. Right? So when I went into the plastic surgery world, because it's a deep dive on the internet, a mommy makeover is to restore the shape and appearance of a woman's body after childbearing. Now, full disclosure, again, I don't have any kids, right? I don't have any kids. I decided to marry into my motherhood and grandmotherhood. I decided to marry into it. But even with that, it baffles me how, as I mentioned last week, we love to celebrate being pregnant, having kids, being a mother. You're glowing. You're so beautiful when you're pregnant, right? And then the moment after you give birth to a whole human, what's that, 9 months? Sometimes, depending on, God bless it if it's a healthy pregnancy, right? Because that's a journey. After you have pushed this child out of your womb, somebody has the audacity to say to you, maybe you should get back to what you were before you had kids. Maybe you should work out a little bit more to get into those skinny jeans. Maybe you should, it's so beyond ridiculous. And yet we do it. And yet it is a popular thing that mothers can go in and pick from a menu of procedures from, breast augmentation, breast lift, tummy tuck, liposuction, Brazilian butt lift, and other procedures. Now, I've never had any of that work done, but going under the knife, and I've gone under 3-4 times. I forget because it's happened so many times. Medical reasons. Every time you sign your name, you're not always guaranteed to come back out. So any surgery, hands down, is a risk. Can I compare my medical need to a personal self-need? No, they really are apples and oranges to a certain extent. I mean, if your health is attached to it. But we have these beautiful women going under the knife. Now, I go back to why? Why? I just struggle with the two messages, just the two. There's a multitude of messages, okay? But the two messages of, you're so beautiful, but please don't come home out of the hospital with all that extra weight. Let's not do that. It's insane. And we continue to feed the TV networks, the social media networks, the videos, we keep feeding these images to make it seem as if it's normal. Now, the last time I checked, and somebody please correct me in the comments if you can, I could have sworn that the average woman is like a size 12, size 14. Is that not the average woman? Let me know. But I could have sworn that's the average size. I mean, even Marilyn Monroe was not petite. She was not a small woman. Woman had curves. She was thickums. It's a beautiful thing. So, we create this chaos. And so, for any person out there, how do you keep sanity? How do you get out of the bed every day and say, you know what, this is exactly the way the good Lord made me. You're going to have to live up on this or keep it moving, right? How do we get there? So I want to throw in Danny's comment. Shout out to Danny tuning in from YouTube. Danny says, such BS. You birthed a whole child, sometimes breastfed for any amount of time. We should be proud of what our bodies were able to accomplish. Amen, sister. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's like, how would anyone ever expect any mother to go in the hospital and then come out like nothing ever happened? Like there's not a stretch mark or anything. Like there's nothing that says, I am a mother who just gave birth yesterday. Like whose idea was that? So let's continue down this plastic surgery path. Because I love Joan. I remember Joan before all the plastic surgery, and I remember Joan after all the plastic surgery. And we, if you have been around long enough, have seen some other persons who they have labeled as being addicted to plastic surgery. It's a sticky topic. It really is. Because it keeps going back to each individual's self-esteem and how they define beauty. And again, it is not my place to tell you what is beautiful and what isn't. It is not my place. I will say this for my own self, because I can only speak for G. I don't care. I have no care whatsoever for what's going on outside. I can tell you right now, I put on my jeans today, and my motivation to stay in the jeans is because I don't want to buy another pair of clothing. I just don't. You know, when you get a good pair of comfy jeans, you just want to stay there. So if ever I feel like we're about to get out of that comfy spot and I may have to buy something, I get on the track. Sure do. I walk around. Now, the other part is like, keep a healthy heart. But we're not trying to get skinny for summer, be beach ready. No. I have a really nice wardrobe. I want to keep it. So that's it. That's my motivation. That's about it. But it's a hard topic, right? Because you'll be in a circle of your friends, and you may know that your friend had a little something done. And so you find yourself saying, well, I'm not talking about you. I just feel, here's the deal. Do whatever you want to do. It's your body. Do whatever you want to do. I'm not paying your bills. I don't get you out of bed in the morning. Do what you want to do. I have a place of, I keep going back to why. Because we are beautifully and wonderfully made. I just want to know why. Just for my own curiosity. Right? And as a person who was bullied as a kid, we have a lot of questions of why, right? Gwendolyn bloomed really late. I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago. We were really late to the game. So I'm just coming into my own, which is probably why I'm like, yeah, this is great. Right? That could be it. So let me share something from Victoria here. To me, from my journey through the beauty world, is totally filled with social media fake surgery beauty. Ooh. It is very hard to compete with the doctoral beauty, as I call it, but yet again, I have. And as I age, I find that my beauty will never fade because it's what I see and not the way that others see me. I have had some surgeries and find that it is a temporary fix. We are all going to age, and good health is the fountain of youth. Amen. Thank you for sharing that, Victoria. Thank you for sharing that. When people talk about age, that'll be another conversation. The fact that I can say we're almost looking at 48, that's a blessing, because we all don't get there, right? We all don't get there. It is a blessing to age, and to age with your friends and your family around you. That's a blessing. I don't discount that blessing. So when we're looking at plastic surgery, that sticky topic, again, people can do whatever they want to do. We know people who have become, we'll use the word addicted. I don't want to say obsessed, but addicted. And here's how I think about it. I have to wonder that when they see something that they don't like, you want to get it fixed. A little nose here, a little ear there, a little, But then you find something else that still isn't working right. And so then you go back for that one. And as Victoria said, well, eventually it kind of shifts, right? And so then you go back for, you're like, well, shoot. So when do you actually stop? So I have to wonder if some of that, if we had put some of that work into what's really broken inside, would that maybe have fixed it? Now, I'm just assuming something's broken, right? Because everybody's had to do their own work, myself included. There are things in here that we have to like wrap our arms around. You carry that baggage, you might want to let that go. Get you a therapist, a counselor. But we all have something going on. When we look in the mirror, we're like, do I like what I see? I mean, again, because I love doing full disclosure, Gwendolyn didn't get her braces until, what was it, 3 months before prom? So, like, trust me when I say, if you really think about it, dental work is also part of that sort of beauty makeover. I mean, it may be on the lower scale of it, but it is, right? It is. I have extremely puffy eyes, like extremely puffy eyes. They get puffier as I get older. My sister said, did somebody hit you? Do you have an allergy or something? I was like, no, that's just as I get older, them suckers are just gonna like balloon. It's gonna be what it is. What can I tell you? There's nothing going on here. It's just the way I'm made. But I love my puffy eyes. I love them. Let's share this comment from Black Eighth Element. He says, learn to love yourself and protect yourself from yourself. Ooh, man, when we get inside our head, that little voice, yeah, that little voice can sometimes always be going and doesn't know when to shut it up. Yeah, you're right. Oh man, that in itself is a mic drop. We can just go ahead and turn off the show right here, because that's it. We can get into our head. But what's great, what I do want to celebrate is that there are companies that are out there that have recognized what's going on. And I also want to say there may be even a little bit of self-accountability as a beauty company to change the narrative. I'm going to shout out two that immediately come to mind because they were so front and center with it. One of them is Dove. Now, Dove has been doing a lot of work. I mean, they have been going in. They have this one self-esteem project where they are talking to the kids at an early age. If you have any little ones, and I know that 16 is not technically little, but you know what I'm saying. If you have any little ones, girls, boys, whatever, you got to tell them every single day, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and mean it, right? My parents put that in us every single day. Now, I can't tell you that when I went to school, people would make fun of us and my wide nose and all this stuff and my 4 eyes, all that stuff. But we persevered because in the back of my head, my mother said, you're made in God's image. He don't make mistakes. Okay, works for me. But that was a different time, right? All I had was Teen Magazine that showed up, every so often, or 17 magazine when we would go get it. Different times. Oh, and again, there was the Jet Beauty of the Week and there was Essence, but still, there wasn't this constant reminder of how you don't measure up. These young people nowadays, they're getting it text messages from fellow classmates. They're getting it on the schoolyard. It's literally everywhere. So we're not saying that this attack doesn't start when they come out the womb. It probably starts right then and there. But they are getting these messages. And if we're not careful, and if we're not paying attention to what's going on with our children, our friends' children, and like I said, I'm from a different time where it could have been the neighbor across the street, the neighbor next door. They were aware of what was going on with everybody's kids. and it was welcomed. Community, a village raised a child. We were all active. But you're looking at these young people nowadays, and I think it's beautiful that Dove is taking this step to start working on the self-esteem when they're in elementary school. Like, we got to start early. We have some comments coming in. Hey, we got Angelique. Hello. Yes, I used to think this was an issue only females battle, but boys deal with the body image issues too. They do. They most certainly do. It is not just to young girls. Now, I get that as women and little girls, we get a lot of the attention. I get it. Like, we're everywhere. I don't even want to talk about gender roles. That is another topic. But it's impacting young boys too. It's not just the little girls. It's across the board. She says, I can't even imagine growing up with social media. Man, see, all I had was MTV. There was BET, and like the video vixen showed up on the scene. And I do recall my sister. She had a pretty cool wardrobe. And in my opinion, a better body than I had. I was flat as a board. So it was awful for me. But she had curves. And so she had like these cute dresses. And I'm going to say it, they were spandex. And so I just knew if I could wear the spandex dress, maybe I'd be cute and popular too. Yeah. That didn't really work out for Gwendolyn. It didn't work out for me. I was like, I don't understand why this isn't working. In high school, because again, we were a little behind the eight ball. I do recall seeing girls who I thought were amazingly beautiful. They were very popular, but they were treated so poorly, right? You had the guys who talked about them. You had the girls who also talked about them because they assumed they knew what was going on. Yeah. And then I thought to myself, this really isn't as cool as it seems to be that popular chick. It's really not that great. But shout out and kudos to Dove, who are not only tackling the self-esteem at a young age, they are talking about the appearance, ending appearance hate. They had a campaign maybe 2 months ago supporting the Crown Act, hair discrimination. They are going for all the things. And I am here for it, and I support that brand because we have to put an end to some of this. Now, putting an end to some of this is trying to like mop up the ocean. It's a big battle. But the more we do it, even if it's just one person, that's a plus. That's a win. It's better than doing nothing. A second company that I want to share kudos to is CVS. They launched their Beauty in Real Life campaign. It was like back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Unretouched images. I would also say that Beekman 1802 also in their ads use unretouched images. And here's what's funny. God bless me, because sometimes I go dumpster diving in the comments. Have a cocktail if you're going to ever do it. But people were upset that this one young lady in a Beekman 1802 ad had acne. And they were like, for her faces, she has acne. And like, why use her? Because she's real. We have acne. We have rosacea. We have scars. This is real. This is real life, people. And I appreciate a real person telling me their beauty story versus seeing this super flushed and pulled back face. That's not real. We don't need it. It's the same thing you see, quick sidebar, because I love a good sidebar. When you're out in the store buying a dress and it's like snatched, and then you get home and you're like, well, why is my dress so? Because they use safety pins to pull it back, to show the curves, right? We want real. This is real beauty. Freckles, scars, lines, laughing lines, furrowed brows. That's real. Let's appreciate the real. And it'd be great if more companies went that way. I don't know if they're going to get there, but you don't need to be, you don't have to have like what, 10, 20? You can have one or two. If you start a fire, get a little bit of smoke, it eventually catches on. Trust that. Trust it. So let's talk about this because I knew it. I'm trying to move quickly and keep it going. But this woman here, man, whether you like Rihanna or not, is not the conversation. Okay. That's not the conversation. What I appreciate are those who want to go out and change the beauty narrative. They are rewriting the norm. I know it's like, are you kidding me? Because we have retail stores, was it maternity motherhood or mother maternity, something like that, who create fashion just for when you're pregnant, right? And I don't know, like when I look at some of my mother's photos from when she was carrying us, sorry, Ma, they weren't the most fashionable. I'm just going to put it out there. They were not that cute. And I want to say she probably even sewed a couple of those things. So, the fashionista in me comes out sometimes. But I cannot help but smile every time this woman shows up on stage wearing whatever her beautiful pregnant body wants to wear and tells people, get over it. Get over it. When you were pregnant, your body changes, but that doesn't mean that I now have to wrap it up and hide it. No. She is doing the things. She is rewriting the norm, redefining motherhood, the journey of pregnancy. I love every bit of her message because for all the complaints about her Super Bowl Sunday performance, and we were like, is she pregnant? I think she's pregnant. Is that her special guest? She was doing it. The woman said, look, I can still work and I can still wear whatever and still dance and do whatever. And yes, I want to say I do believe she received a number of, FCC complaints. They were like, this is awful. And how dare she do this? Hey, but that's who she is. She's breaking the barriers. I love it. If I'm not mistaken, I have seen some younger performers who are now also pregnant doing the same thing. It just takes one. It just takes one person to say, we don't have to do what everybody says we have to do. That's not even necessary. This is your story. You should do you, right? And she's been stomping it from the first child to the second. I love it. I love it. Every bit of Rihanna doing her thing as a pregnant woman. Absolutely love it. Quick side note, I love a new album too, but that's not why we're here. We're talking about the beauty standards. Trying to get it in. Now, when I was thinking about how to end this, when I was thinking about rewriting the norm, I thought to myself, there is a place, I have to believe there is a place where mentally we have to work on some things, right? Because we go through life where everybody's like, do this, do this, do this. And you're so good up to a certain point, and then you get to a certain point in life and they want to make it like everybody else, right? Like the Gap. Everybody looks alike and you see yourself walking down the street. So how do you get back to being an individual if for a period of time, your creativity is squashed? You're ridiculed for doing your own thing. I got to believe that somewhere in there, there's some work to be done. I have to believe it. I mean, I can't, I don't even have the words to truly articulate why we would change what is so beautifully and wonderfully made, right? I mean, I'll end with this, if I can get the quote out perfectly, which I know I can't because perfect doesn't exist. But in one of my favorite TV shows, it was mentioned that we're all mutants, right? We're all mutants. Like we just look like we're perfectly spaced. We just look like that. But we're all mutants. And we should celebrate our individuality. We should go out, get a mirror, get a whole bunch of mirrors, put them all over the house. And when you walk by, be like, hey, good looking, how's it going? That's what we should do. That's the journey, though. It's the journey. Now, at the top of the hour, we were asking the question is, do you see yourself as beautiful? I'll tell you right now, you surely have already caught up on it, but yes, I think I am like amazingly beautiful. I'm due for a haircut, but that's okay. But I'm rocking this. And if you are on that same journey of living an authentic life, 2 ideas for you. 1, check your surroundings, right? If the person that you're rocking with isn't uplifting, doesn't love you for who you are, you may want to get some different people. I'm just saying, just get you a different circle. Because trust, I have dropped some dead weight. But then 2, you don't have to do it alone. Getting a counselor, getting a therapist to work out all the kinks can only help. It's only a blessing. It's a blessing. And so with that blessing, I think we did it. Oh, we're slightly over. It's okay. It's okay. We'll tackle aging some other time and gender roles. Oy vey vey. We will definitely tackle that some other time too. But until then, thank you all who tuned in today. It is always great to have you guys here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and being so vulnerable with your stories. Sincerely appreciate it. I am Gwendolyn G. R. Houston Jack. This is Girl, Listen. And of course, why is it? It never. I love it. I love how you guys love to throw in the comments right when I'm about to hit that button. Danny says, I know I'm cute. Right. You are. You definitely are. Brother says, great show. Thank you. Thank you so much. When you're around people of like mind and spirit, that energy, man, the world is your oyster. The world is your oyster. So this weekend, be safe, have fun, get you a couple of mirrors if you want to, because, I keep a lot of mirrors here. I will have a lot of mirrors. I have a lot of mirrors in this house. Right now, though, I am going to go out, get a little vitamin D because it's good for your health. Get out there, get a little bit of walk in, and we will see you all next week.